Hello everyone, welcome back. This video is going to be about Faiz Ahmad Faiz's Do Not Ask of Me My Love. And if you've watched my second year videos, you would understand that I would go in the descending order from last towards the first. So this is the first video for the first year students. So let us start off with Do Not Ask of Me My Love. And before doing so, make sure to have your textbooks and the pencil. Right, so let us learn a little bit about the writer Faiz Ahmad Faiz. His time period is 1911 to 1984. He was born in Sialkot, Punjab. So this region actually is currently situated in Pakistan. He was an intellectual revolutionary poet and one of the most famous poets of Urdu language from Pakistan. So Faiz Ahmad Faiz is a renowned writer, was a renowned writer, and then he's an intellectual. He had a lot of knowledge and he's a revolutionary poet. So if you look at his poems or if you look at his works, you will understand that he talks about the social injustices. He talks more about the problems or the inequalities that are happening in the society, and that is why he is considered to be quite famous, especially in the Urdu language from Pakistan. His varied career as a teacher, army officer, journalist, political leader, trade unionist, and as a brilliant poet won him a wide audience. So because he was versatile, he involved himself in all these activities. He was a political leader, he was a journalist, he was a teacher, right? He was a union trader as well. So because of all these things, he had wide audience. Many people admired him. A rising figure and notable member of the progressive writers movement. So progressive writers movement is where people started writing about the social inequalities, right? They wanted the establishment of peace. They wanted to look at the darker side. It is not always about the beautiful stuff in the world. It is also, we should also look at poverty, we should also look at the inequalities, we should also look at the discriminations, right? So he belonged to this movement, and by doing so he was the recipient of Lenin Peace Prize, and he received this from the Soviet Union in 1962. Right? So, because he wanted to establish peace, he wrote n number of works, and they were quite popular. People loved his works, and that is why he was given the Lenin Peace Prize. Underline this one. In 1962, he will receive this award. He was nevertheless inspired by South Asia's Sufi tradition. So you might have known a little bit about Sufi traditions. This particular tradition belonged to the Islam, right? So it belongs to Islam, and how people there, they wanted to spread peace, they wanted to spread love by singing, right? They wanted to sing, they wanted to dance, they wanted to talk about the religion, they wanted to talk about union with God. They did not want all the fights, they did not want any bad things happening, but they mainly focused on love towards God, right? So he was inspired by the Sufi traditions as well. His birth centenary, centenary means 100th anniversary, it was celebrated in 2011. Underline this one. He was the only person from Pakistan to fly down, much against his government's wish, to attend Gandhi's funeral. So he's one of those very few people from Pakistan who came down against the wish of the Pakistan government to see the funeral of Mahatma Gandhi ji. So this is about Faiz Ahmad Faiz. You should understand that in this world we have a lot of problems, there is a lot of misery. Every day you wake up to one or the other bad news. Every day one or two are it is not doing any justice, because you know, every moment you watch one of the videos online about how a girl is raped or how a boy is trashed just because he is a Dalit. So how you see how countries are waging war against each others, and you see all those problems happening. So the intention of the writer is to make sure that there is peace in the society, right? So what are we fighting for? What are we doing all this for? You are attracted towards materialistic stuff, you're focused on one thing, but are they really going to do something to you? So that is the mindset of the writer. So look at the title. He says, do not ask of me my love. So he's telling to someone, right? He's telling, do not ask of me my love, don't ask me. Okay, don't ask me my love. He's telling to his dear one, maybe his beloved, right? He's telling, please do not ask me anymore. So what is he telling? He says, do not ask of me my love, that love I once had for you, right? So when I say the word love, all of you might start listening to it very keenly, right? What is this love? It's that flattering feeling that you get, right? So you might have a crush on someone, the infatuation, right? At this age, the PU board has this one for you because it knows the changes in the mindset of the people, the adolescent age. That is why they've kept this one for you. So he's telling to his beloved, the speaker is telling to his beloved, do not ask of me my love, that love I once had for you. I had some love for you long before. Before, I had a lot of love for you, but currently we have overcome that thing. We have come far away. We are in the present. Do not expect the same kind of love from me to you again. So, do not ask of me my love, that love I once had for you. It is true that I loved you, but now I loved you in the past, but now do not expect the same kind of thing, he says. Then there was a time when life was bright and young and blooming. Look at the words that he uses: bright, young, blooming. So it talks about the youth, right? It talks about that age where you have all these beautiful things going on in your mind, your childhood to adulthood, the transition from childhood to adulthood, right? So he's telling life was bright. There was a time when we were young. There was a time. So when he's trying to talk about this poem, he has reached certain age where he has reached some maturation. He is not that young boy who was roaming around with love in his heart, love letters in his heart, or anything like that. So he has come to this realization, and then when he has come to this realization, he is going towards the past, and he tells, there was a time, so when we all were young, you know how life was. Life was bright and young and blooming. So for us, life was bright. It was colorful. We had a lot of beautiful things going on. We were young. We had a lot of energy. We had a lot of aspirations. We had a lot of dreams going, and the life was blooming. Right? We were excited. We were having this transition. Now slowly we were getting the responsibilities. It was blooming. Everything was perfect. So what happens is, when you all are young, including myself, we were wondering when we would turn into adults, right? So we would be happy. There would be no assignments. There would be no tests. We would have a really peaceful life once we turn adults. That is the mindset of people. But once you slowly transition into this adult life, you would understand that being in the childhood was far better, right? The only worry that you had was writing the assignment, submitting it to the teacher, and then making sure that she puts an A on your book or a star on your hand. So that was the worry, right? Now what happens is, you have responsibility as you become an adult. So he's telling, life, there was a time when life was young, life was bright, it was blooming. Underline these words. And your sorrow was much more than any other pain. Then he's telling you, my love, to his beloved. He's telling, right, in your words, maybe girlfriend or wife, we are not sure, but he's telling, my love, your pain for me, sorrow is pain. If you felt any sort of pain, that would hurt me more than any other pain, right? So my love, if you are in pain, that means I have a lot of pain. I do not like to see you in pain. I focused only on you. For me, you were the center of my universe. You were everything. But slowly I realized that it was not the case. You were everything to me. If you felt a little bit of sadness, that was a lot of pain to me, he tells. Your beauty gave the spring everlasting youth. Now he's comparing her beauty to the springtime, underline this one, and then he's telling it is your beauty that gave this season of spring everlasting youth. You might have, most of you might like the season of spring because it is neither too hot nor too cold. Right, that is when you see fresh things appearing. It is a blissful moment, right? It is one of my favorite seasons. So he's telling it is because of your beauty that spring had its everlasting youth. So he's talking about her beauty. He admired her beauty a lot. Your eyes, he tells, yes, your eyes were everything, all else was vain. Yes, your eyes were everything. So for me, if I looked into your eyes, that was everything. All else was vain. Vain means useless. For me, nothing was important as much as your eyes. So, first two lines he talks about how he's telling his beloved not to ask the love that he once had for her. And in the second stanza, he talks about the younger days, right? So make sure to write these things in the side of the stanza so that you can remember while you are skimming, while you're glancing, right? So he's telling about her beauty in the second stanza. He's admiring her. He talks about the childhood days. He talks about how the beloved's sorrow caused him a lot of pain, and then he's comparing her beauty to that of spring. And then he's telling your beauty is giving the spring its youth, everlasting youth, right? And then he says your eyes were everything. For me, your eyes are everything, all else, everything apart from your eyes are useless, vain, they are in vain. Now what he talks about, while you were with me, right? So he tells, while you were with me, I thought the world was mine, right? So you might have heard these lines in popular movies, or sometimes you might have heard your friends say this one: when he is with me or when I'm with her, I am the happiest, I don't feel anything at all, right? So we are at this young age, we do not know what it is. When you are experiencing things for the first time, you'd be very excited. So that is the position that the writer is in. He says, when you were with me, when the beloved, you refers to the speaker's beloved. So he's telling when she was with the speaker, I thought the world was mine, everything was mine. I felt as if I was on the top of the world just by your presence. I felt like the king of the world. I had everything, right? It was a feeling that he experienced because of the presence of the beloved here. Though now he is trying to change that one. Then he tells, though now I know that it was all an illusion. He talks about the past, he talks about his own feelings towards the lover, and then he realizes that though now I know, it was nothing but an illusion, right? Illusion is something which is not real, something which is imaginary, right? So this is what happens at this particular age. We all, you guys especially, would think that this is everything, right? So I fall in love with this person, I like this one. So when they reciprocate, when they accept my proposal, or if I propose to them, if they accept, so whatever it is, once that happens, you feel like you're at the top of the world and you have everything. But as you grow older, you realize that it was all an illusion, it was all imaginary stuff, right? And then he tells, for there other sorrows, that's the way I imagined it to be, for there are other sorrows in the world than love, and other pleasures too. So he's come to that point in life where he's telling, that is how I imagined it to be. When I was with you, when you were with me, I thought the world would be mine. Right? At that young age, I thought the world would be mine if your presence was there with me. But now I've come at the later stage of my life and I understand that it was all imaginary. That is how I imagined it to be. That is what I thought. But now I realize harsh reality. He's talking about the reality, right? You cannot be loving a person throughout your life. There comes a moment, there comes a lot of moments where you would fight with that person, you would try to separate from that person. So he's telling, for there are other sorrows. Right? Whenever I did not get you, I would feel a lot of pain. If you were unhappy, I would feel a lot of pain. But he's realizing, he's coming to the reality, and he says, for there are other sorrows in the world too. There are other problems in the world as well. Right? What am I contributing to the society if I focus only on you? What am I doing to the society? So he tells there are other sorrows, other pains, other agonies, other problems in the society, and at the same time there are other pleasures too. So your company gives me a lot of happiness, but at the same time there are other moments where I will be very happy as well. You should not focus only on a person, and you should not focus only on certain feelings. You have to, as a human, experience all of the things. Now, what are the other sorrows? Other sorrows are, you might talk about the simple example would be where you see when a dog is walking down the street without any problems from the dog side, some people might start throwing rocks at it, or they might threaten the dog, right? And they might kill the dog. We've seen many instincts like that. So is it something humane thing to do for an animal, right? And it's not only about that. You should also look at the sorrows of the family. Within the family, what is the mother going through? Despite being unwell, she tries to make sure that everyone in the family eats, right? So are you focusing on that? Are you looking at that? Despite not feeling well, your dad makes an opportunity. He does whatever he can to make sure that he goes to the office and gets something for yourself. You might have seen your fathers or mothers might not be using all this branded stuff, but for you guys, they will make sure that you have the best out of everything, right? Are you focusing on these things? Just because a boy or a girl has come into your life, you should not focus only on them, because there are other sorrows also, other happiness. Now, what are these happiness? Happiness of getting good marks, right? Happiness of being called a good person in the society, trying to do good things for the people, right? So you should focus, as a human being, you should also focus on all these things. I hope this is understood. So in the third stanza, he says about the transition. He says that this is all I imagined it to be, but now I know the truth. There are other sorrows as well, and there are other pleasures too. Pleasures is nothing but happiness, bliss, right? Content. And then again he repeats saying, do not ask of me, my love, the love I once had for you. Yes, before realizing all these things, I had a lot of love for you. But now I have come to a realization. I've understood the problems of society, and I feel very sad. I feel very bad. So don't expect the same kind of love. I cannot give you the same kind of love. I should focus on all these other things too. Next, woven in silk and satin and brocade, those dark and brutal curses of countless centuries. Right? Now he's talking about, again he talks about society. So he's talking about the society. He talks about the contrasts within the society. So there are people who are wearing clothes made out of silk, satin, brocade. Silk, satin and brocade, these are the luxurious garments, right? So these are the garments which can be purchased only by the upper class people, those who can afford it, right? Though they are considered to be very rich. Now what happens? He talks about the contrast. He says there are some people who are wearing silk, there are people who are wearing satin and brocade. All these people are very rich, right? A human being, a normal person with no income cannot afford all these things. They are very expensive, right? Go ask your mothers how much money it would cost for a silk saree now, right? So it is not something that everyone can afford. It is meant only for the upper class people, right? And then he tells those dark and brutal curses of countless centuries. Then he says, one picture you have of all these rich people having their luxurious things, they're leading a sophisticated life, but then go back a few years ago, try to understand those dark and brutal curses. right? Those were dark in the sense there were a lot of injustices going on, there were a lot of killings that were going on, discriminations, inequalities, right? So these things were going on. They were brutal meaning they were inhumane. They did not have any kindness at all. They treated people very poorly. Curses of countless century. Curses is, right, they have cursed you in a manner for centuries altogether. It is not for 1 or 2 days. For centuries together people have fought. You can take the example of the advent of the Europeans into India. What happened during their time period in India? How many people suffered? How many women were killed? How many men were killed? Right? How the British put the seed of separation into the minds of Indians, how we started discriminating Hindus and Muslims, right? So you also should talk about all these things. Once the country was flourishing, it was perfect, everything was going well, right? So then what happened? A huge country like this was divided because of the hatred which was put into the minds of people. Right? So he talks about there are certain women in the society, certain men in the society that are very luxurious, they are living very happily. But go back to a few centuries, you would understand that these people suffered a lot. And then he gives a very gore kind of image here. He tells bodies bathed in blood, smeared with dust. Right? So it was so inhumane back in those days when people were fighting for independence, right? Not only for that matter, anywhere if you go, if you look at the slavery system, right, that was going on in the American continent, right? So there you understand how the Africans were brought out of their native land and how inhumanely they were treated. So he talks about how the bodies were bathed in blood, right? So they were treated very cruelly, they were killed, they were whipped, right? They had a lot of problems, smeared with dust. So they did not have any sort of protection for themselves. The bodies were covered in dust. They did not have basic rights for themselves, and they were sold from marketplace to marketplace. Again, you can take example of slavery here. Humans, right, they were sold from one place to another, right? Just like how you sell other goods and services, the same way here humans were sold from one place to another. Bodies risen from the cauldron of diseases. Cauldron is nothing but the big pot. You might have seen the witches doing some magical potions in them. That is called a cauldron, the huge pot there. So he's telling bodies are raising from that cauldron of diseases. That means there were no proper cures at all. People suffered from n number of diseases. Just like that, people were killed. So that was the society that you lived in. There was no proper protection. People were killed mercilessly. They were sold from one place to another, and their bodies were covered in a lot of diseases. They were not well. Pus dripping from their festering sores. Sores are nothing but wounds. So the pus is dripping from the festering sores, wounds. So they have spread all across the body, and when it is not being healed properly, definitely the formation of pus occurs, and then the wound might turn into something deadly. So this happened, and he says, my eyes must also turn to these. So he's telling, yes, there were good things as well, but at the same time, there were all these problems happening. People were covered in dust, their bodies were bleeding, they did not have proper protection, they were having a lot of diseases, right? And they were, the pus was dripping from their sores. So he says, I cannot be looking at you all the time, my eyes also must turn to this. Right? So I must turn myself, I must make sure that I cannot definitely help all of them, but I can at least contribute something from my side to make sure that this is not happening elsewhere. So in this particular stanza, he talks about the reality. He talks about the present and the past time. So how people suffered and everything. And then the last stanza, he says, you're beautiful still, my love. So and then he comes back to her, and then he says, You're still beautiful. It is not that you're not beautiful. It is not that I don't love you. Mind you, I'm helpless too. But I'm helpless. When there are a lot of problems going on, I cannot make sure to just sit in front of you and do nothing outside. Right? So, what would happen to all of us if the soldiers decided not to have any love for the country, but instead they love only the wives and the children, and then they stay back here? What would happen then? Right? So we should appreciate, we should be very grateful about them for protecting us, leaving their family. How long can we leave our family? But they're leaving all of their family, not even knowing whether they would come back alive. Right? So the writer is also telling the same thing. I'm helpless too. I cannot be sitting just in front of you. I'll have to be focusing myself on other things as well. I'll have to contribute myself in one or the other way, for there are other sorrows in the world than love. So he's telling there are other sorrows also in the world, not just love. So there are other feelings as well, and other pleasures too. There are other happiness as well. So he's coming and then he's telling, previously he tells love is very pleasureful, right? It is very a happy kind of feeling, it is blissful, right? So you like another person, they love you back, you live a very good life, trying to protect each other, trying to be there for each other. He says that is something very good. Her presence makes him feel very happy. But then he says, after realizing everything, I'll have to leave you. This is sad. Obviously this is sad. And he is not telling I'll completely avoid you. He says I will have to focus on other things as well, because there are sorrows also of other kinds and pleasures as well. I'll have to make sure that I look into all these things. Do not ask of me my love, that love I once had for you. So after telling all these things, he again tells that please don't expect the same kind of love that I once had for you. It is gone. I have realized about myself. I've come across, I know how it feels. So I don't want to focus my attention only towards loving you, but I also want to move on to the other stuff. So here you should understand certain feelings of empathy, right? Empathy, gratitude. Empathy is where you try to understand the feeling of another person instead of just scolding him if they do something wrong. If a person does something wrong, instead of scolding them, you should try to understand why he actually did that way. You should try to understand the feelings of another person. So that is called as empathy, trying to feel another person's feeling. And gratitude is when you have everything, you should be thankful. Gratitude is a level above that of thankfulness. You're not simply thanking, you're grateful that you've had this opportunity, right? So these are the things that come in the poem, and I hope you have understood. If you want a quick summary or something like that, please do let me know. So it basically talks about how inside of a society you should see all the good stuff and also the bad stuff as well. And if there is some sort of oppression going on, you should step in there and make sure that the things are right. Right? So that is all for today's video of Do Not Ask of Me My Love. You have any doubts, please do put them in the comment box, and have a very happy learning.